is the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast.
It's that time. Time for another edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report, the only show on the internet that gives you a weekly update of all the up-to-the-moment gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities. I'm your host, the Celebrity Medium. Let's start right from the top. On the earthly plane, longtime FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and his Chief Lieutenant Clyde Tolson were inseparable. So much so that for many years, whispers behind their back said that the two were gay lovers. Hoover was so powerful in Washington that no one ever had the nerve to say that out loud or report the rumor in the press. Of course, in the next world, that is all behind them. As it turns out, the director was not gay, but transgender. Hoover has been living as a woman for some time now. According to the reports I have gotten from my afterlife sources, things have now gone to the next level. One of my most reliable sources tells me he was in a restaurant recently when Hoover and Tolson walked in arm. Ms. Hoover was wearing a lovely flower print dress and heels and had her hair done. I'm also informed that she has lost a lot of weight since her law enforcement days. The source spotted a ring on her finger and asked her if it was new. Yes, she said, Clyde gave it to me. Isn't it lovely? To the question of whether the two are now engaged, she nodded and smiled. The source says that Tolson was very gentlemanly, pulling his fiancée's chair out for her. The setting being an upscale restaurant, he had the house violinist come over and play for Hoover, who was once one of the most feared men in the federal government. I'm told that the two held hands throughout the meal and seemed very much in love. A few days ago, Gary Owens transitioned to the afterlife. Older listeners to the report will remember Owens as the on-screen announcer for Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In back in the 60s. Others may remember him as the voice of many cartoon characters, including Roger Ramjet, Space Ghost, Powdered Toast Man, and Batman, among others. He also worked in radio, particularly in the LA area, for many years. After the seemingly obligatory welcome to his new existence by Godfather of Soul James Brown, Owens, according to my sources, was visibly happy to see many of his old friends, including Dan Rowan, his Laugh-In co-star, there to greet him. Asked by one of my spies if he knew what he wanted to do now that he has left the earthly plane, Owens laughed and said, "I just got here. Give a guy a chance to get to know the lay of the land, will you?" Now, Owens may not know just yet how he wants to spend his time, but someone else knows what he'd like Owens to be doing. Babe Ruth, the star of a raunchy morning drive radio show on popular station Heaven 107, no sooner heard that Owens is now in the next world than he said that he is bound and determined to get Owens as his show's new announcer. Regular listeners will remember that Ruth, known for his take-no-prisoners approach to radio, had an on-air run-in with Chicago Cubs star Ernie Banks a few weeks back. Although Ruth played it straight on the air, saying that he thinks that Owens would make a great announcer for his show, many believe it is a setup and that the Bambino wants to get Owens into the studio so he can ridicule him like he tried to do with Banks. This story is shaping up to be interesting to say the least, and you can bet we will be following it as it develops. The current controversy surrounding soon-to-be ex-governor of Oregon, John Kitzhaber, reminds me in a way of the story we've been following about deceased actress Judy Garland and her plans to build an all-female community in the afterlife. Just as Kitzhaber seems to have destroyed his political career because of the woman he loves, Garland seems to be about to abandon her ambitious plans out of loyalty to Fred Trump, the man she loves. As regular listeners to the report know, Garland got tons of grief from lesbians and radical feminists who had planned to move to her proposed town after her announcement that she and Fred, father of the Donald, were getting married and planned on running New Garland, as the town was to be called, as co-mayors. Judy stood tough in the face of ongoing protests, insisting that it would be her way or the yellow brick highway. This past week, however, things went off the rails. A petition to convince her to change her mind about sharing mayoral duties with Trump circulated. Thousands of women signed it, agreeing not to move to New Garland if it was not 100% female, as originally promised. Just before I recorded this episode of the report, I received word that the would-be town builder had thrown in the towel. Garland released a statement to the effect that although the creation of New Garland was her dream, she could not continue in the face of overwhelming opposition, and she also would not abandon her fiancé. Therefore, her plans for New Garland have been discontinued. She further offered the blueprints for the town to anyone who wanted to pursue construction on their own. Rumors have been circulating that she and Trump were secretly married in a private ceremony sometime over the past few days. I have my spies working to confirm that. Lastly, as I've mentioned in previous reports, people in the next world are generally aware of events on the earthly plane, so it's no surprise that the deceased former cast members of Saturday Night Live know that it is the 40th anniversary of the show. Afterlife fans have been asking John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, and others to perform together for some time now. According to my sources, those fans are finally going to get their wish. As was probably inevitable, the show to be performed before live audiences and P.T. Barnum's restaurant/arena will be called Saturday Night Dead, a reference to a phrase reviewers of the Earthplane show have been using for years. As a tribute to the show that made them all famous, the new one will start at 11:30 p.m., but at least for now, it'll be for the live audience only and will not be televised. I'm informed that other deceased former SNL stars are being contacted and will be invited to appear in the show. And with that, we conclude this edition of the Celebrity Afterlife Report. Please come back next week when I'll have another roundup of the most up-to-the-moment gossip about all your favorite deceased celebrities for you. Please tell your friends that the report is now available on iTunes. I am the Celebrity Medium. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to the Celebrity Afterlife Report podcast. To ask a question about your favorite deceased celebrity, call 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-3-MY-DREAM. 818-369-3732.